Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel, Remodeling with Mike. Today I want to cover all the necessary tools to install your kitchen. If you're a DIYer or you're a professional, you're going to need the same tools. First and foremost, we're going to talk about measuring. A couple things you're going to need is a tape measure. We like to use anywhere between a 30 to a 25 footer, depending on the size of your kitchen. But it's an important tool to keep on your belt or on your tool belt. Also, when talking about kitchens, a handy laser, something that can judge the measurements from wall to wall, is super useful. This will help determine the height of your ceilings easier and center points easier. Something like this works by hitting your on button here. Depending on the register, most of the times it's going to read from the back end. So whatever surface you place it on and then you hit go, it'll measure the distance from the back to wherever that laser stops. Outside of needing your tape measures and your lasers, you're gonna need a pencil. Simple pencil. This tool right here is something that you're gonna need as a carpenter every single day. This will make all your gentle marks, it'll help you erase your marks, and it'll keep all your measurements intact. Another tool that I like to have when I'm doing a kitchen is a notepad that I have right next to my plans, so I can make any notes needed. If I'm doing a cut list, I can create a cut list. So you're at your chop station only once, instead of going back and forth multiple times. Levels are going to be the next thing that I want to talk about. A good set of levels carrying all different sizes is super important. Here I have a Stabila kit ranging anywhere from my 6-foot level all the way down to my torpedo level, which is a 10-inch. Right here is where my 48 inches on the side panel. These levels are super important when you're hanging cabinets, not only to make sure that you're level, but also plumb. You'll see this a lot in our other videos of us installing kitchens, especially when we're doing cabinets or tile work, even flooring. We'll use a laser. This is one of those tools that it's an investment worth making. This comes with a tripod that's in the van. I'm not gonna pull that out right now. But you can have the tension pole go all the way up to your ceiling. You can get this mounted, get it to the right height, and it'll do a nice green laser going around your entire room. It'll also give you your plumb line as well as your level line. So you got your laser out, you got all your cabinets out, and you got everything in place. Next thing you gotta really do is use some shims. This is one of those things that you can never really have enough of. We like to buy a undercourse bundle, and what that is the undercourse is the row of shingles that goes underneath your exposed shingles. These come at a lower grade. They come with knots and imperfections. So what we'll do is we'll take these, run them through the table saw, creating these nice little smaller shims that you can use to level and shim out your cabinets so your kitchen install runs perfect. So now that you have all your cabinets in place, or at least a couple of them, and you know the layout's gonna work, you're gonna need some fastening tools. In my left hand is a drill, and in my right hand is an impact. The impact is gonna have more torque and it's gonna send those screws home faster. The drill, on the other hand, this is gonna be used for more finesse work. You're gonna use a countersink if you're sinking in a tapered screw. Otherwise, you're gonna pre-drill all of your holes. When you're joining two cabinets together, you're gonna bring them together and you're gonna clamp them. Let me grab a clamp for you. This is only one of our clamps. When you're joining two cabinets together, you're gonna grab the center style rails and you're gonna clamp them together, making sure that they're nice and tight and flush. Once they're flush, you're gonna use this guy to pre-drill for your fastener. And then when you're done with that, you're gonna send this guy to send the screw home. Making sure that the screw goes nice and tight, not all the way in, and definitely not protruding out. Talking about fasteners, you're gonna need a couple different kinds. These are all different types of fasteners that we're gonna use on a kitchen install. They range in sizes and colors, but I wanna point out a couple cool little details. This guy right here is gonna have the flat top with a built-in washer. This is what you're gonna use to fasten your cabinets to the wall. And then when you're joining cabinets together, when you're screwing through the stiles, you're gonna want something a little bit smaller called a trim head screw. These screws are by GRK, and they offer them in different sizes and color tones. Most of our kitchens are gonna be white because that's the go-to for us right now. So we've really relied a lot on these white screws. If you're going with a natural wood cabinet or a different painted cabinet, it's okay. You can use your touch-up kit to hide them, or you can get different colors, right? The gold goes well with natural wood, hides it really well. The white goes good with white cabinets. And if you have anything in between, well, you're probably gonna have to rely on your touch-up kit. Let's talk about some of the tools you're gonna carry in your tool belt when you're on site. I wanna point out that when you're installing a kitchen, it's not recommended to actually wear your tool belt, but as a carpenter, you definitely should have one. Keeps all your tools handy, and when you're in the framing industry, you definitely need that on your body. But in the finish industry, you don't necessarily want it on you. Can you wonder why? Make sure you guys comment below, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. In the tool belt, several tools to have. Simple putty knife for when you're filling holes if needed. You're going to want a screwdriver. What we use is a multi-screwdriver. This is going to have all your different types of heads and attachments. You can put them in, switch it out. And you may be thinking, why do I need a screwdriver when I'm installing cabinets? Well, this is really towards the final end of it. When you're adjusting all of your cabinet doors and drawers, you're going to want to make all those micro adjustments, closing and shutting the doors to make sure everything is lined up perfectly. So in your tool belt, you're going to want some chisels. These are awesome tools to have when you're in a pinch. Sometimes you need to shave off a little bit of wood, just a hair. Other times you have to make a nice little notch into some solid wood. Not a tool you always need when installing cabinets, but you should definitely have it in your tool belt. When installing cabinets, a square is vital. You may be wondering why. These cabinets to come, they shouldn't be at a square, right? Well, you should always double check them. So here in my hand is a speed square. We use this a lot for making marks. It's got all these different measurements on them. It's got even a little scribe point here. Now, these are really used for framing, but in a kitchen install, they come in handy from time to time. Other than that, you're also gonna need a framing square. This can go right on the inside of your box to make sure when you're installing standalone cabinets by themselves, that they are square with the wall and square as a cabinet itself. And then you can put little fasteners in and blocks in to make sure it doesn't move. That way, when you come back for your countertop template and installation, your cabinet hasn't moved out of square. So a framing square is definitely something that you're gonna need on every kitchen install, especially if you have standalone cabinets. So you're getting ready to install your sink base and you see these pipes coming out of the wall. What tool do I use? These hole saws come in handy. You get multiple sizes in a variety pack like this, but if you're just doing a kitchen install or you're a DIYer, all you're gonna need is the 1 inch for your copper lines, and you're gonna need a 2.5 inch for your drain line. 2.5 inch for your 2 inch drain. That way you can put an escutcheon around it and finish everything off nice and tight. This is a stud finder. Ding, 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 found one. Just kidding. So a stud finder, super useful tool when you're hanging cabinets because they have to be anchored to a stud or blocking. If you didn't gut the walls and put blocking in and pay attention to your plans, and you're simply pulling out cabinets and putting cabinets in, use a stud finder, run it across the wall, and make a mark with your pencil so that you know where each stud is. Then you grab your tall level right here. You're gonna wanna bring out your tall level to make the mark with your pencil up and down so that you know where all of your uppers, all of your lowers are, where all of your studs are at all points. What you don't want to happen is hanging your uppers, missing that stud, spinning out your screws, and then walking away because now your cabinets aren't properly fastened and they will fall off the wall in the future. The difference between a DIYer and a professional is how they do their crown, 9 out of 10 times. Now, I'm not saying every DIYer, do-it-yourselfer, doesn't know how to cope or miter, but the tools are expensive, and when it comes time for the finish work, sometimes this is where they slip up. Hopefully you have all the tools that you need with your miter box and your table saw, and then all your fastening equipment, okay? But what I'm gonna show you right now is how we do our outside miters. I've already prepped these pieces. They've already been cut at your 45 degree. So if I had a cabinet here and we were to line everything up, it would look like that on the outside. One of the things that we like to use is 2P10. This is a construction super glue, essentially. What you're gonna do is you're gonna prep everything, getting everything open, making sure that your miters are tight, that when you line everything up, it all works perfect, and then you're gonna prep it with the glue. I'm gonna clear off a little space here so I don't mess this up, because once you really touch this together, it doesn't come apart very easily. And you don't want to waste any material because a pre-finished crown, well, it's expensive by the linear foot, and it's not material that you want to waste. I'm using a piece of crown from the store that we bought. It's not as expensive to test and show you guys with, but here you get the 2P10. You're gonna put a little bit on that. Why don't you come and zoom in on this guy? You can put a little 2P10 here, really move it around, and then you're gonna spread it apart, making sure both pieces are wet. And then right here is the activator. This is what's gonna get this thing to really work good. You're gonna spray it on, and then you're gonna touch it, making sure your pieces are lined up perfect. And then you're gonna hold it for a second. And done. Now that you have a pre-built miter, you can go hang it up on your cabinet and then use your pin gun to finish this off. Let me show you what the pin gun looks like. So the pin gun is gonna have a super small fastener. Yep, just like a pin. These guys. The reason we use this is because you're gonna have a finished material that's fully painted, and if we put a big fastener through that, well, it'd just make a mess. You'd have to fill it with the goop, and that stands out like a sore thumb. So we like to use the pins. When you fill it with your wax stick, you really don't even notice it. All right, so you got a chance to see all of the tools needed that go into a kitchen remodel. We're standing in a space right now that we just completed, and we use all of those tools and a few more. If you found value in this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, guys, because we're gonna come out with a ton more content. Super excited to see what's next. We're gonna be actually installing the kitchen, hands-on, with the tools that we talked about today. Thanks, guys.